What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday over here, and we are looking at Bitcoin. Nothing too interesting happening this Saturday, as usual. Okay, but that doesn't mean that there's not too much happening in the altcoin space because on the weekends, altcoins could still pop, even though Bitcoin does not do anything, especially when Bitcoin is looking bullish. Now, we're gonna take a look into some altcoin setups and some potential explosive moves that could be coming for these altcoins, especially if Bitcoin is looking bullish. Okay, so if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that on a daily basis, I'll bring you guys a dive deep into the charts and look for setups that have yet to move, right? And that are about to move because let's face it, we do not want to be chasing any green pumping candles as those are going to be a lot riskier. I like to look for setups that have yet to really move. That's less risky, okay? Also, if you guys do have any technical analysis requests, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe below. I will pick one technical analysis request on any markets, altcoin, Bitcoin, you name it. Just drop it below. I will pick one down below and do it on my videos every day for you guys. Now, let's go ahead and go on with the video. We're going to be taking a look to Bitcoin first because Bitcoin drives the entire crypto space. If Bitcoin dumps, chances are your altcoins are going to be dumping as well. So very important that Bitcoin looks good, right? Let's come over here to the 3-day time frame because 3-day time frame is very important as we have just broke above the 3-day 50 SMA. We've been trying to get over that for the past couple of candles. So that's about, almost 2 weeks, right? 3-day 50 SMA is about 93,000, okay? And this is also a very important time frame to be looking at right now because we had that double bottom pattern. We talked about this. Double bottoms are very simple patterns to be looking for, but also very effective, especially when you couple that with divergence on the RSI. Basically, when you have an equal or lower low on the price action chart, but an equal or higher low on the RSI. One of the main indicators I use, and I have been using it for years, and it has been very effective. Price target for this double bottom pattern is about 104,000. Quite a bit of resistance between now and then, okay, including, of course, the 100,000 resistance. Okay, you guys can see that by looking at just the candlesticks here. Quite a bit of struggle along this 100K resistance, okay, right here at 100K. I mean, it's also a round number as well, so it's not a surprise. Okay, so we're trying to get over that. However, we also have to look for one more thing, which is coming up tomorrow. Today is Saturday Pacific Standard Time, and the weekly candle closes about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're looking for a solid candle close above the weekly 21 SMA, which is pretty similar to where the 3-day 50 SMA is at. If we get a solid candle close above that, that means the bulls have actually reclaimed this resistance as support, and we could be looking at the next level of resistance, which is basically at about, like I said, about 100 grand, right? And then, of course, the previous all-time highs would be the next level of resistance before evaluating if we're actually going to break out of this pattern. But you guys know my opinion, right? I am still bullish on Bitcoin. I am still bullish on crypto until the charts prove otherwise. But right now, I am still looking it still looks like I am bullish on crypto. One of the things that I would be looking for when Bitcoin actually comes back up to about 110K, which was the previous all-time high, would be the RSI as well, because that could tell me if we're going to be getting a pullback, right? And that's going to be very indicative for the rest of the crypto markets as well. Now let's go ahead and talk some top 100 by market cap crypto, okay? So I like to trade the bigger cryptos when Bitcoin is in consolidation, because when Bitcoin is in consolidation, the smaller altcoins take a hit, and I like to trade the bigger cryptos, especially when I am low on margin, right? I've learned my lesson in 2024 when from April 2024 to about November 2024, altcoins were just getting slaughtered, okay? Especially when I was on leverage, okay? It was a scary time, and I never thought I'd make it out of that time, but thank God I did. Um, what I learned from that time was, when I want to trade leverage, right, for short-term gains, for scalps, right, if I want to pay attention to the shorter time frames, right? That's what I do, and I do that. And I don't recommend people doing that unless you guys have actually gotten some profitable experience from trading spot, right? Otherwise, it's very risky. Now, we are gonna be taking a look into Algorand, right? Algorand is going to be the first thing we're going to be looking at, because I think this chart here, this market here, hasn't really moved, but it has a pretty good price target. Okay, falling wedge pattern on this weekly time frame, very common pattern, as you guys will see across a lot of these altcoins, that has been formed since December or January, okay, since that huge downtrend. And Algorand here actually has kind of broke this trend here, as you guys can see on this weekly time frame. It's trying to break above this top trend line, and the price target is about 55 cents, okay? Now, price targets are estimates only, okay? It could be more or less, right? And you have to be able to change your opinion when the chart proves otherwise, okay? Don't just take the price target and run with it. That is a very bad idea. That's probably just one piece of the plan, of my plan personally, right? I definitely would not just, take the price target and, just open a position and just let it sit, okay? It's going to take some pretty active management, I personally think, right? And, if including, right, including what if this pattern actually breaks back into the pattern and the breakout fails. That's one scenario you have to be accounting for. So it's a lot of risk management as well. Not just you take the price target and you think that it's gonna absolutely get there. No, that's not the case. Okay. All right. So looks like Algorand is actually trying to break out of this falling wedge pattern. That's on the weekly time frame. Let's take a look onto the daily time frame and see if I can get any hints on what could be happening here. Right. Take away this. Let me see if I can actually get a chart here, right? Because when I want to get an idea of what could be going on a higher time frame, I'll zoom in to the lower time frame and see if I can chart this and give myself any hints on what could be happening. So this looks like a falling wedge pattern as well, right? basically the bulls are trying to stay above this upper trend line, right? And this looks like a falling wedge as well. Probably looks, it could be more noticeable on a lower time frame. I'm looking at the 4-hour now, and on the lower time frame, much more clear falling wedge pattern. Take a measurement of the opening of the pattern, and then you put it on a expected breakout point or estimated breakout point. That should give us about 23 cents if it breaks out by this point. Of course, if it doesn't, then we'll move this measurement along the top trend line if this pattern still is intact. Falling wedges tend to break to the upside. Don't just take my word for it. Go ahead and Google search it, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at for Algorand. Let's take a look into optimism. Okay, let's take a look into the higher time frames here. Weekly time frame. Weekly time frame here. Very similar pattern, falling wedge. Almost at the bottom of this pattern. Showing a pretty strong bounce here on the RSI, and that is pretty significant because let me explain why. That's a strong bounce because if the price action was to get a equal or lower low, chances that the bears would actually get a lower reading than this RSI reading, it's not that high in my opinion, just based on that slope of that bounce there, right? So if that is the case, if the bears get a lower or equal low on the price action chart but does not get a lower low, a noticeably lower low on the RSI, then chances are there's going to be another bounce. That's called bullish divergence. However, if the price action here on optimism actually does break out of this pattern here, huge falling wedge pattern, it's going to get about $5 price targets. Okay, this is on the weekly time frame. That means it could potentially take quite some time to get there, if it does. Let's take a look onto the daily time frame, see if we can get any hints on what the price could be doing. I see a rounded bottom. We're still seeing higher lows on the daily time frame. Let's take a look into the lower time frame. This is my entire thought process when I look into what the market is doing. All right, falling wedge pattern again. Measure move out of this falling wedge pattern. If it breaks out, but it usually breaks to the upside. If it breaks out at this point, should give you about 78 cents price targets. All right, let's move on to Core Dao, Core USDT. See what could be happening here. Very similar and common theme here. Falling wedge pattern. At the weekly 21 SMA, resistance. What this looks like is that it actually looks pretty good to me because it looks like there still is a higher low since this bounce here. Okay, when I see a dump and I want to see how the recovery is, I first things first look for a higher low that tells me if the buyers are still coming in and buying up at higher prices. And I'm still seeing higher lows here, so right now it's still looking like there's a good sign here for core because I'm seeing higher lows on the weekly time frame. Now, huge falling wedge. Okay, huge falling wedge. Okay, if it actually breaks out by this point, measure move is about $3.50. So still quite a bit of a target here. Now, let me just emphasize that none of what I'm saying here is financial advice. Okay, definitely do not just take what I'm saying here and buy a position and hope for the best that it would reach the price target. I've seen shit hit the fan. Okay, I've seen fake outs. I've seen breakdowns. So you should really think about it in terms of probabilities, right? Nothing in this market is a given. It's not 100%. It definitely needs to be strategized, right? What if it doesn't break out as expected? What if along the way to the target it starts to break down? Would you exit? Would you take profits? When to take profits? Those are all very important points to think about. And how to make sure that you keep some profits if the breakout goes well in the meantime. All right, so this is Core. Like I said, $3.50 price target. Let's take a look into daily time frame. Like I said, so it has actually retested that daily 200 SMA, the orange line, with some overbought signals with bearish divergence. Okay, very powerful indicator, very simple indicator, the RSI. Okay, higher highs but lower or equal highs on the RSI. That's called bearish divergence. Usually means there's going to be a pullback, and there was. All right, that basically wraps it up for some of these altcoins that I'm looking at with potentially pretty explosive setups. Of course, all of this is going to depend on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin dumps, chances are none of this matters. Okay? Now, this wraps it up for this altcoin setup video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comments. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great weekend.